Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Angela and I'm the Inquisitive Farmwife. And you might wonder where I came up with that name. Well, it's because I like to try new things and I do lots of experimenting. And you know what? If you're here, you're going to be on a journey no matter what video I'm making. Today, we're going to do something super exciting. We are reviving some very old sourdough starter. I'm at the end of the day and I'm tired, but I have one more project I want to get started. It's that time of year where I decide I want to try making sourdough again. And it just so happens that I have some friends hosting a collaboration. So I'm hoping that my video is going to be how to show you how to revive an old sourdough starter. So I probably should not be admitting this, but this starter here, okay, it is probably 5 years old. I made it on my own when I was recovering from a surgery, and I made this, and I've only baked off of it a couple of times. I have neglected this, and this particular starter I know has sat dormant for more than a year, maybe two. So we're going to experiment. I think we're going to play around with it, see what we can do, and get it started. Now, last year, this starter was given to me, and that's when I started doing the no discard method. It is at least 6 months neglected. So there, I've admitted it. I have let them go, and it's terrible. But if we can get these things revived in a few days, then it's going to be worth the fun to try. First, we're going to tackle the newer starter. Grab some 1.5 jars because all we're doing is we're just reviving it. We're not planning to bake with this just yet. We're just kind of wake it up. And I like to do 100% hydration, which is a 1 to 1 to 1. So what I want to do is I've got 1/2 cup of water. We're going to have 1/2 cup or close to it of the starter, and then we're going to add a cup of flour. Now, this is just a general all-purpose flour that I'm using that is unbleached. It's important that you go ahead and get unbleached. And we're just going to pour that right on in this water. This water is just tepid. It is not hot. You do not want to put hot water in there. It could kill any chances of reviving your starter. Pretty thick. And this is the feed for our starter. So I'm just going to kind of let that soak that up. And then we are going to mix. I probably could have put the starter with the water, but I wanted to make sure it wasn't too warm for it. My kitchen is nice and warm because I've been baking cookies today. And so that's a good thing. Let me show you what this looks like. There is no real liquid on top like this one. This is called hooch, and this one has a pretty serious hooch line. There is no hooch in here, but I will tell you when I just smelled it, it does smell a little bit like fingernail polish. And it's really, really thick. So, my instinct, now you can mix all this in, but my instinct is telling me, so here's our starter. It is not very liquidy. So I think I want to go ahead and add another 1/2 cup of water, and I'm going to add it to this starter, and we're going to see if we can't get a little more liquid in there. It just might take us a bit longer to wake it up, but it is a bit drier than I remember it being. So this is just an experiment, guys. I'm so glad that you decided to come with me. There really wasn't much for bubbles in here. I'm not sure how this is going to work. When it was alive and well, it was very active. We shall see. Here we go. Now it's all liquid. I get all that goodness in there. And we're going to go ahead and mix this in. Now, see, I think it's got too much liquid. So now I'm probably going to have to add more flour, ending up double feeding it. And I'm going to have to put it in a bigger container probably. I think I want to put another half a cup of flour in here. So this is not going like I thought it might at all, but that's okay. Here we go. That looks much, much better. That is a lot of food for that small amount of starter. So I anticipate this should wake this baby up. We're going to let it sit overnight and see what a good 12 hours does. A tip to know when you're working with sourdough starter is don't use metals. Stainless steel is okay for just, you know, whisking or something, but glass and plastic works best so that you don't have a reaction. I am liking this much better now. Now, I'm going to try to go back to the no discard method, but since we are reviving this, there will be some discard along the way. Maybe we can try some recipes. So I've got this about the halfway mark. If we were going to cook with it, it would need to double, so it would need to be at the top. Right now, all we're wanting to do is wake it up, say hello, good morning, and just get some bubbles. So I'm going to go ahead and just put a paper towel on with the ring, just kind of sitting on there. It doesn't have to be tied down. Coffee filters work really well. Just whatever you have. Some people will actually even put the lid on and just leave it set there like that so that air can still get to it. But I felt like I wanted to start fresh. Okay, I have washed and cleaned my spatula and I'm ready to tackle this. Now, some people say to pour it in, but as old as it is, or mix it in, I'm going to pour off this hooch. Now, this smells amazing. This one actually smells really almost sweet, so I'm kind of excited about this. So I'm going to mix all this together. Again, it is a thick consistency. I want to get down to the bottom and bring that up and mix everything in the best I can. Aha, wooden spoon. So here's a trick for you. Take all this off best I can. And you take the handle and you use it to stir with. Mix this up the best I can here. See? And I have my half a cup of water. You go by weight. And so usually the starter, a half a cup of starter, a half a cup of water is equal to weight of flour. Now I'm using a different flour. All I have today is spelt. Normally I have like an 8-grain organic that I like to use. And it's something about using organic flour really will usually just perk it right up and make it super happy. But the best I have today is spelt. And if you're not familiar with what spelt is, it's an ancient grain. And we love it. So I need a half a cup of starter. So you can see what I'm doing. Here we go. We're going to add that in here. We may or may not need to add a little water. We'll just kind of see how this works out. There we go. That's gonna mix that in really well. Okay, I would not want this any thicker than what it is now. Honestly, I almost feel like I want to add some water, but I'm not going to do it because this is going to be fun to see where this was basically double fed and this was not. And so I'm very, very anxious to see if there's a difference. But I want to clean off and scrape down the insides of the jar because this becomes a paste. And oh, what a mess. I do the same thing. I'm going to use paper towel on here. I'm going to use this because that's not going to hurt anything. And I'm going to put the rest of this dormant starter, and I'm just going to put it in this container, and I'm going to put it in the fridge. That way, if we have failure with our others, we still have something to experiment with. And I'm not going to feed this. I'm just going to put it back in the refrigerator. There's no reason for this to grow, so I can fill it all the way to the top. You guys, look what I found when I was in the fridge. This, I don't remember. I think this is one that I had revived and forgotten about. Another one of those. So how funny. I could have just used this instead. Oop. Telling that stuff's like paste. Oh, but it came open. I think it's fresher. But this will be fun. Something that is more than 6 months, and this one is probably definitely more than 2 years. This one's probably more than a year. Tempted almost to want to try to put some rye with this. Should we? Should we try a third one? The hooch doesn't look as dark, and you know what? For fun, let's go ahead and mix that hooch in there and see how that works. Looky here. Can you see this? By mixing that hooch in, I think our water ratio is going to be where it needs to be. I've got a half a cup of water, and I'm going to guess this is going to be close to a half a cup of starter. Nope, it's a little bit more. So I'm just going to put that much in there. That is it. And then we're going to dig out some rye flour. Dark rye. That'll work. That will work. Okay, there's about a half cup. And another half cup. All right, stir this up. It's kind of nice to have that glass. You can just see exactly what's going on. And it ended up very thick also. And I remember now from cooking with rye that it does soak it up and it makes a very, very, very dense bread. Okay, we're going to add 1/4 of a cup of water to this just because I know this type of flour needs extra. That is much better. It's still very thick, but it is much better. Oh my gosh, this is exciting. Clean off those sides again. They all now have the rings with the paper. I then labeled them so I don't forget. Even though this one is darker, you know, it just might get confusing. Plus, instead of using a rubber band, I now have a line knowing where our starter was when we put it to bed tonight. So we have our spelt, our all-purpose, non-bleached, remember, and our rye. I'm gonna tuck these away for the night and see what happens tomorrow. It has been about 12 hours. Do we want to see what's going on? Of course we do. First, let's take a picture here and look at what's going on with our all-purpose. This is the one that has been dormant the least amount of time. As you can see, it has started to rise above our line, just barely, just a little, tiny bit. But look here, folks, we have bubbles. So this one was basically double fed. Let's look at her. Yep, nice, lovely bubbles all throughout. So I think she's starting to wake up. I'm gonna probably give her, let's go ahead and give her another 12 hours, and then we'll probably discard and feed. I kind of want to feed her now, but I think I'll at least wait till the 18 to 24 hour mark. Then we'll go over to our spelt, and let's look here what's going on. We're right, I think, at the same line. I don't think that changed at all. But every once in a while, I think I see a bubble. Like, is this, you know, an active bubble, or is that just an air bubble because of the way I put it in there, you know? I'm not confident that those are happy bubbles. So we'll let this one set. And then here we are with the rye. Now, same situation. See how the air bubbles are uneven? And you look on these and they're a nice, round, active bubble. So it's like, are these bubbles or air pockets? Because it's obvious that it did not move up on the line. But I don't know, because like right up here are little, let's see if we're getting in too close. Can you see here? Like this one and this one are more circular. They kind of make me think that we're starting to kind of wake up here just a little tiny bit. So again, we're gonna wait at least 6, maybe another 12 hours and let these set and see what happens. But I definitely think that this one is starting to say hello. Okay, friends, it has been another 12 hours and I'm not going to do anything just yet because I'm working on another project and I have to finish before I start another mess. But I have to show you what's happened in the last 12 hours. Check it out. Okay. Our all-purpose is super bubbly, super happy, and I'm super excited. So, this one is definitely alive. Our spelt has done nothing. Our rye appears to have done nothing also. But don't worry, we're going to come back to these babies in maybe another hour or so, and we're going to work them over. But I got to work on this other first, one mess at a time. Okay, so we are ready to get back at it again. I have put a half a cup in each of these jars, all right? So I'm going to add a cup of flour to each of these jars. I'm going to use the all-purpose unbleached flour in each one of these jars. I'm not sure that the rye or the spelt did us any good. I'm hoping tomorrow to go to the town where I get my organic from. But tonight, we're just going to try using this because we know that it certainly helped this one. A half a cup of starter. Ooh, look at that, guys. You see those bubbles? Let's see if I can bring you in this way. Can you see those bubbles? Oh, that's fantastic. And it smells really nice. So I'm going to take a half a cup of this wonderful starter and add in there. What I want to do is I want to mix those three things together. And once again, what I want to do is put this back on. Take our label off of here. Put it where we're at here. And see what happens in about 12 hours. Next, we'll move to our spelt. We'll do the same thing. And lastly, our rye. Okay, so now we're gonna let these sit. These two, I'm tossing. I just don't feel there's enough life in them. We're gonna try to bring them back with this. However, this precious baby, look at those bubbles. Look at those bubbles. We're like almost ready to bake with this. So I'm not getting rid of this. I am going to put a lid on this, and we can either, I don't know if maybe we could probably almost bake with this because it had almost doubled, but only in 24 hours. So I think we could treat this as a discard, but I'm half tempted just to keep it in a container for experimentation. Okay, so this happy little friend is going to go in the fridge. But whatever you do, if you have a mess like this, do not put this down your sink. It is like paste, and it will cause you issues in your plumbing. So make sure you throw it outside somewhere or in your trash can, but not in your sink. That's it for today. Let's see what tomorrow brings. Okay, we have waited our 12 hours, and I gotta show you what's behind me. This is exciting. Check this out. Girl has tripled. So we are active. We're gonna make bread. These guys over here, no, nothing with the rye that I can see. The spelt does have bubbles. It has risen just a slight amount. I'm not gonna give up just yet on this. We're going to hopefully get some different flour to try to play with this and see what happens. But for now, we're going to see what we got going on here and get some bread dough started. Okay, so it's been another 24 hours because I didn't make it to the store to get my organic flours like I wanted. And at the 12-hour mark, I was done. I was done last night. It's just, it's harvest season. I've got down cow. It's just, I was done. So I left it alone. And guess who got happy last night? She has decided to join the party. And I was like, oh, is that just on the side? But if you look down in there, that is way taller than that line. And I was like, yes. I knew she could do it. I knew that one would work. But then, guys, somebody got jealous. He said, no way. Look at my bubbles. Look at me go. And he is way up there. Like, whoa, daddy. He's in for the game too. So, today we're going to go ahead and give them a feed and let them see if they can triple. But gosh darn it, guys. I think I'll be getting more bread ready before we know it. I'm going to give it one more feed. I think we're going to just use regular flour. No bread flour, no rye, no spelt. Nothing special. They seem to be happy with just the unbleached flour. So Let's do that. Start with Susie Spelt here. Did you know that naming your sourdough is actually a thing? We're gonna give this a good little stir. I was not anticipating this well of a reception. I was so excited to come down and see this. So I will take, and I'm gonna get a half cup here of my spelt. Add it to my half cup of warm water. I want to show you. See how it just kind of sunk to the bottom? If I remember right, that means it's not quite ready. With our rye, it really sticks a little bit more. It's okay. Ooh, no bubbles yet, but it is definitely awake. Hello. Nice to meet you, Ricky Rye. And we're going to add a cup of flour to each of them. And we've still got some starter in there. This one's got some bubbles. Can you see that? This one doesn't. I hope you can see that. Got Susie Spelt, Ricky Rye. Get those into these jars. Now remember, we're not going to feed this. This is just going to sit dormant. This is just an experiment. We'll probably play with it later. Maybe use this in a discard recipe. We'll see. But we're not at the point where we're going to feed it and put it in the fridge. This is just me not wanting to waste. I like the consistency of this better. The rye is very much thicker to work with. These are just going to go in the fridge to have as a backup. These are just baby backups, okay? And that's all we have to do this morning. So now that we know how to revive our forgotten sourdough starter, come with me on my next video where we learn how we can bake with it. I would love to have you all join me on my journey. If you're not already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on what crazy thing I might do next. Give it a like and share it out. That really helps my channel grow, and it helps encourage me to continue doing what I'm doing.